Spencer Oliver, pro boxing fans here in Birmingham for the return of Joshua Buatsi, the return of Ben Whitaker. It's an interesting card, this one. Let's talk about Joshua Buatsi first of all. Been a year out, ring rust. Do you think all these things play an effect? He's obviously training out with Virgil Hunter as well. Is there going to be a few things playing an effect in this fight?
Absolutely. Listen, Joshua Buatsi, we've talked about this now for the last couple of years. Is not just maybe the best prospect in this country, but at one stage was the best prospect globally in my eyes. I think that he was destined to become world champion. I still think he's destined to become world champion. He's been inactive. Over the last 12 months or so, it's been a frustrating time for him. But he kicks off again on Saturday night against Pawel Stepien, who's a decent fighter, unbeaten, and he's come here to win. He's up for it. He's quite heavy-handed, but I think stylistically he's perfect for Joshua Buatsi, and I think we're going to see a big performance from him. I know Buatsi's looking for those big names. He wants the Lyndon Arthurs, he wants the Anthony Yards, he wants those sort of fights, the Craig Richards again, any of those names. We've got some big talent here in Britain, and Buatsi wants to get those, and before he gets his world title shot. So, yeah, looking forward to it Saturday. It's going to be a big night.
What path would you have him on? Obviously, Dan, this is the easiest fight to make of the lot, obviously with Sky Sports Box and everything else. But in your eyes, as a boxing fan, forget any association with boxer, what path would you want Joshua Buatsi?
Right, so I'd want Buatsi to perform on Saturday night against Stepien. I want him to go out there, get rounds under his belt, but ultimately make a statement. That's what I would like to see him do. Go out there and win it in style. Then whether I like to see him go, listen, as a fan, I want to see him box Anthony Yard. That's the fight that I'd love to see. I know Dimitri Bivol's the champion, and Beterbiev now is boxing Callum Smith, but we don't know where Bivol's going, what he's doing, who he's going to be going against. Is he going to drop down to super middleweight? Canelo? So whilst the titles are tied up, I would love to see Buatsi versus Anthony Yard. I think that's a dream fight. I think what we saw the other week with Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis, Gervonta Davis, was you don't need titles on the line. I want to see the best boxing the best. I think it's been a frustrating time for boxing fans in general, like with the heavyweight division, with politics getting in the way, different broadcasters, fights collapsing, fights not coming through and materialising. Let's hope that Davis and Garcia, what they've done there the other week, opens the doors and shows the way for these other fighters, like for Buatsi to box Yard. We don't need the title on the line, because sometimes while you're waiting for those titles, those fights go away. One of them gets beat, or that Father Time catches up for one of them because we've been waiting so long. Let's make it happen, man. Give Buatsi this fight. Let him get the rounds under his belt. Anthony Yard's there. That's a fight that I would love to see.
The return of Ben Whitaker, who stood right behind you. Benzo, as ever, confident in that press conference. But talk to me about how much of a talent he is. We've not really got to see it as much as we wanted to. Obviously, been out for a good couple of months right now with injury. Just talk to me about him.
Huge talent. He picked up an injury. He boxed on the undercard of Anthony Joshua Alexander Usyk 2 out in Saudi. That was back in August time. So he's been out a while now. Frustrations have been there. He's had problems with his shoulder, but now everything's fixed, everything's ready. He's oozing confidence. He wants to showcase his skills. Jordan Grant, who is boxing's a tough guy. He comes to fight. He comes to win. He feels that Whitaker's said things that are a little bit too personal, over the line. He said, "I'm going to bring the fight to him." But as we've seen with Ben Whitaker, that kid is a superstar in the making. I truly believe that. And he's going to fast track through the division. I really believe that, the angles, the shot selection that he's got is special. Once in a while we get a special talent come along. That's Ben Whitaker. Let's hope now he stays injury free and we see something special on Saturday night. But I'm expecting that we will. I just want to see him active and keep going through. And let's see what he's been working on whilst he's been injured.
Let's talk about boxing. Do you want to stick with the light heavies? Artur Beterbiev, Callum Smith has been ordered top rank, have won the purse bid, being matched by 15 grand, which is people are saying it's a bit weird. Talk to me about that fight. How does that fight play out?
It's a great fight, Beterbiev, I think what we saw there with Anthony Yard, he was biting down on his gum shield in that fight. Yard made him ask some questions about himself. He's not getting any younger. He's 38 years of age. He's been around a while. He's been in some tough fights. Callum Smith's still a world-class operator, and that's a good fight, that is. That's a really good fight. I'm glad that Callum's getting his opportunity again. He deserves that. He's been a great servant to the sport. He's been a great champion, and he gets a chance to go in again against Beterbiev. Good fight, man. I don't know what way that one goes, if I'm honest.
Very good fight. a fight that I do want to talk to you. Well, rumours that are coming out about the whole Saudi tournament. You've talked about this extensively before. One of your old pals, or somebody who's been in the industry for a long time, Carl Froch, is saying, listen, age is past his best now. And he says that Wilder faces him, he'll render him unconscious. That's his words, not mine. What do you make? What do you make of Carl's comments?
Listen, I think they're strong comments, if I'm honest. I know Froch is very opinionated and he's entitled to that opinion. But no, I've got a different view to that. I think that Anthony Joshua has just been too inactive. Like, you can't judge a fighter and say he's shot, he's finished over 2 losses to Alexander Usyk. You know, he's gone back, he's trying to find the right trainer. Derek James could be that right trainer. He needs to install some of that aggression that was once there. He needs to find the rawness that was once there. And I believe he can do that. But you have to give him time. You can't judge it on Jermaine Franklin and go, well, that's it, he's shot. We haven't seen anything. We was expecting more. I was expecting more. You know, Anthony Joshua knows what he's got to do. He knows that he's got to put his shots together. He knows he needs phase 1, phase 2. He needs to find that rawness, that aggression. And I believe he can still do that. But writing him off and saying he's shot, fuck me, that's well strong. I think that, you know, there's you've got to give him an opportunity to have another couple of fights, and I think that we're going to see him again in July. I'd like to see him in with someone like Dillian White and that before he goes into these, you know, this possible big competition that's going to go on, this 4-man competition with AJ versus Wilder and Fury versus Usyk. You know, I was worried that Joshua was going to go off the back of that performance into that fight, because there was talks of that. Joshua saying, hey, I'm not boxing now till December. Now I'm hearing rumours it could be July, and I hope that that is true, because I want to see him in one more fight before he goes in with Wilder.
John Fury did an interview with Stamina for Sale, Spencer Fearon, and he said, listen, people are working on AJ physically, but it's all about working on him mentally. That's the main thing. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. John Fury's 100% spot on. It's not a physical thing, it's a psychological thing, you know, and like he needs to reinstall that confidence. There's one there. The inactivity is taking that confidence away from him. Not the 2 defeats by Alexander Usyk, because Usyk just out-hustled him, outsmarted him, you know, but he didn't get you know what I mean, he didn't get a beating in those fights, so it's not like that. I just think he needs to get back to winning ways, which he did against Jermaine Franklin, but now we need to see him moving on from that. Show us what you've been working on with Derek James. Stand there, mate, and let your shots go, let your hands go, because that's what you need to do if we're going to compete with this top tier of heavyweights right now, because on the Franklin performance, that's not enough. But I believe there's more.
John Fury also said in that, listen, the final is going to be very simple. It's going to be Tyson Fury against Deontay Wilder again. We're going to see the 4th series of it. Do you agree with that? Do you feel like they're the favourites again if there was that tournament format?
Right now, yeah. Right now, yes. Like I say, I'm going to judge that on the performance. If Anthony Joshua goes straight into that fight in December with Deontay Wilder, of course Wilder's going to start the favourite, you know, just on form. You know, not saying that Joshua can't beat him, just on form. But if Joshua gets out again in July, I think we'll see a different Anthony Joshua going in there, and an Anthony Joshua that could beat Deontay Wilder, definitely. But he needs to rediscover that rawness.
Do you think this is going to happen realistically? John Fury is saying, listen, they need to get a concrete offer out to us. They need to give us money. Tyson's worth more than anyone in that division, so the money needs to show that. Yeah. Do you feel like we're going to get this, or is it just dreamland for us right now?
Listen, from what I'm hearing, mate, and they're pretty strong rumours from the information that I get, is that, you know, that Anthony Joshua is going to get one amount, so is Deontay Wilder. Tyson Fury is going to get the most. Alexander Usyk is going to get the money. And I think they're all pretty close to agreeing those terms, you know. I think they're all pretty close to agreeing that. And so the money that's on the table is there, and the fighters are close to agreeing that. So I don't want to talk about figures and all that, because it's not my place to do that. But but I'm hearing that, you know, most parties have agreed those terms, and we're very close to, you know, getting that over the line. If that happens, I'm also hearing, like, you know, we're going to see Anthony Joshua out in July. We're going to see Tyson Fury possibly out in July as well. You know, I don't know what Deontay Wilder's doing. Alexander Usyk against Daniel Dubois. We might see that in Poland. We could see that in England. So, you know, they're all looking to have another bout before they get there, because they recognise the size, you know, of this competition, and the magnitude of it is, is going to be. They have to be active for that one. Inactivity is going to be no good for that. I suggest they all box again in the summer.